Hi, and welcome to another edition of We Review Races with Billy and Sam. This is the InfiniTri half triathlon Peñíscola edition. For our English speakers, you may want to put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, Peñíscola. So,
and make sure you have the little wiggly line over the end, otherwise somebody's going to think.
I have questions. So let's dig right into this thing. This normally I'm going to call this a local race or an independent race.
Yeah.
Normally we will do race stories and race reviews together. This one merits its own. It was 1,200 people. It's a big race.
I mean, it's, even for European standards, I mean, it's like the challenge races are the same size. The Ironman races are, maybe a little bit bigger, but this is a big independent race, and probably the largest independent race that we've ever seen in Europe.
Yes.
Has there been a larger independent race that we've been a part of?
And not in the States or Europe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Anywhere.
No.
Yeah. And it was put on. So like the Michigan Titanium was a large race, but they had a lot of different.
It would be
a sprint, Olympic, half, and full for that one, and so that was probably a larger race, but it not for just the half. You don't even think it was?
I don't think it was larger. I think it was the same size.
I got you. All right.
But yeah.
So very, very large. We'd put this on par, and especially execution-wise, we put it on par with Ironman, maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see in the rankings.
Okay.
No spoilers. So let's get right into it. We arrived in Peñíscola. Well, we arrived in Barcelona and drove down to Peñíscola.
Rental cars were cheap this time of the year, and then the hotel that we're staying in is cheap. We got the full board option, so all of our meals are at the hotel.
So for full board, 2 people, and staying through Monday. What did we stay? Thursday through Monday.
Yeah.
All your meals was with the race was cheaper than Dubai, just the race.
Yeah, but you compare it to Dubai. That was.
To give you guys some context of
So anyway, it's a cheap time of year. It's if you're coming from the U.S., it wasn't cheap to get over here. The flight wasn't that cheap, but so far the accommodations are the race itself, Ironman quality or better.
Not Ironman price.
Much cheaper than Ironman. Much cheaper than Challenge too. Which is probably why it's so popular. The race director said that this was a fast race, and we'll get into why it's a fast race later.
Momentarily. Let's go ahead and go through our standard check-in.
Yeah, we walked out of the hotel, and this is Thursday. It's a 6-hour time difference from the East Coast, so it takes a little bit to get used to the time change. It was an overnight flight, so we took a nap, got up, walking around. It was after 6 p.m. After 6 p.m. And we're just walking around like, hey, let's check out we didn't need to. This was Thursday. The race is Sunday. This is Friday. The race is Sunday, so we didn't need to check in until Saturday.
There's a giant tent, and literally said,
it just started sprinkling on us.
We're not sure
how this is going to go.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going.
So
change of venue.
We wanted you guys to really fully experience the hotel.
Besides, it started raining on us, so we had to get out of the rain. So we're walking around the city, and we go down by the beach, and there's this giant tent. What you would expect at an Ironman event kind of tent. That kind of giant. We're like, is that the check-in? Let's walk over there and see. And then as we get closer, you see the banners for the company, and you're like, oh, I guess that is check-in. And so then we walk over, and we're like, they're still open.
Yeah.
Think we could check in? So we did.
Check-in was very easy. You just had your ID. This race, we paid to rent. It was an extra $2 to rent the timing chip. Not sure. I don't know. It's and whatever. It was a cheap race, so.
But there were a fair number of people that had their own time.
We did see some.
So I wonder if that's a common thing here. So anyway, I don't know.
So of note, steal a timing chip from another race, and you could save $2 on this one.
I guess. So we didn't pick up. We picked up timing chip in transition when we checked in our bikes on Saturday. The race numbers were pre-assigned, and so the packet came. Standard packet with, your race number, stickers, all that good stuff. And then we received this sweet T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then we also received a really sweet backpack.
Yeah, dude, this thing is nice.
All kinds of pockets and stuff.
Yeah, the sides unzip, and there are pockets in the side flaps. Yeah. Freaking sweet, dude.
Yeah, that's one of the nicest backpacks we've received at a race. Also received a string bag that says cloakroom bag on it. This is what you would take to transition, I guess.
Yeah, it's bigger than a normal string bag. Also of note, it's bigger than the string bag that we received as our backpack for Australia. So, throwing that out there. They also had cowboy hats that you could take. We elected not to deal with it.
Yeah, they were like the straw type. We didn't have room in our luggage, and we didn't want to waste the hat, so we didn't take it. But they were giving those out should you want it. So I mean, the swag.
Yeah, I mean, really good.
Might be the best we've ever received.
Given, once again, I feel like we have to rate this price because the price was like 130 or 150 euros, something like that.
Yeah.
So at that price point, I was not expecting any of this. I mean, I would have expected the little string bag and a basic T-shirt. Very impressed.
Yeah, it was. All right, so let's talk about transition too.
Yes.
So transition. It's clear that this company does a lot of races, and they wanted to make it nice. They had red carpet throughout all of the walkways of transition.
Really interesting. So you had, where your bikes was on asphalt, but they had taken the trouble to run runners of red carpet so that you
had taped them down so that they wouldn't blow up with the wind. I mean, they had gone to a lot of trouble to make the transition bare feet friendly. Also, the tags there was 6 bikes per rack, which was awesome. And then the tags where your bikes were like permanent tags, like they reused them over multiple races, which
they
was
looked
pretty
in
cool.
really good shape though. I don't know how they used them for multiple races because they were in phenomenal shape.
But nobody, where people were hanging up their bikes, I didn't see people like banging them or anything.
No.
So they looked like
there was enough room that you didn't have to. Yeah, so you were on one side and then the other of the tags, so there was plenty of space. And the coolest part,
it might be the greatest invention in all of transition.
Everybody had the laundry baskets. So they had stacks of laundry baskets.
Right.
You grabbed your laundry basket, you took it to your spot. That was the room that you had. You put all of your stuff in the laundry basket. So nobody with, the super beach towel was out there. It was, this is your laundry basket, this is your stuff. That was fantastic.
It wasn't the largest laundry basket that you can get. It was kind of a medium size, even smaller type laundry. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It clearly defined your space.
Yeah.
And since it had sides on it, you could put a bunch of stuff in there if you wanted to.
Yeah, so it worked fine, right? My bike shoes went on top of my run shoes. I don't clip mine to my bike. Put them on, go, and then when I got out, my run shoes are sitting right there. So it allowed for vertical stacking versus, normally you need lots of real estate. So it was a really clever solve. I'd love to see more races do that. I'm sure that that's not cheap, and I'm sure it's a pain in the butt because they were all, after the race, they were just
strewn
laundry baskets everywhere. So I'm willing to bet that's work, although people had put their trash in their laundry basket. So I think it probably made for a little bit easier of cleanup. Huh. But yeah, so kudos on the laundry basket idea. I'd like to see some more races use that.
All right, so that was transition. Onto the swim. Was there anything else you need to talk about transition or anything?
No. when you came in, when we dropped off our bikes, the entry was different than it was on race day, so they were moving stuff around. So, but you came in on the swim? No, you left on the bike. Everybody went out the same chute.
Where we came in, they closed that off. It was no longer there. Remember, it was on that far side?
Yeah, so I was sorry. I was thinking of race day and the different entry points. So you came in on the swim and then out on the run on the same thing.
Yes, and then the bike was different. It
Yeah,
was
the bike in and out was in the same place. Would that be fair?
That is correct.
So
And they had it set up to where
it was
there was
reasonably fair.
Yeah, because you had to go down this long walkway, then come back to your bike. So I mean, bike number 1 had a better position than bike number 2 and on. But then it was like, bike number 134 or whatever had the next best position. I mean, it was really...
It was not bike number 135. I knew where mine was.
Oh, okay.
It's like, 140 or something. So, they're pre-assigned race numbers. There's not much you can do about it, but lower race numbers did seem to be a little bit better. But the same type thing at the end of the rows is always the best. And there's no way to guess that.
Yeah, I mean, since it was pre-assigned, you get what you get. That's what it's going to be.
So, on to the swim.
So this race was centered around this castle. And this castle was built on like this giant rock. I mean, think of Rock of Gibraltar. Let's put something on top of that. And it was on this peninsula, so it was a fort also. I mean, it's castle is what they call it. Castle, Castilla de Luna or something. Anyway, whatever. It's called a castle. But it definitely had holes in the side of it where cannons had been shot at it.
Yeah, no, like divots in the, yes. Yeah. I don't know what kind of fighting occurred at this castle, but it was serious.
Built in 1578, so there's been 500 years of people being able to shoot at it. But anyway, it's really cool. They used the castle for the entire race. The swim, you started on the left side of the castle, you swam all the way around in a horseshoe and ended on the right side of the castle.
Yes.
So you had, I mean, basically you're looking at the castle the entire time that you're swimming.
Unless you breathe left.
They had buoys, and they were big buoys. I wouldn't say there were a ton of them. They were
fairly spread out.
I mean, you had to kind of. I ended up sighting a bunch off of the people that were in front of me, which ended up working out fine because everybody was in front of me. At one point towards the end, there weren't very many people in front of me, and there weren't very many people behind me, and so I was like, I wonder if I'm the last guy getting out of the swim. Last time I was the last guy getting out of the swim was South Africa during the World Championships. This felt exactly the same. I come in out of the swim, and out of the 1,200 bikes, I could see mine because it's the only one there.
I was fortuitous enough to have at least 3 bikes on my row. I was one of 3. But yes, this may be one of the coolest swims we've done.
Cool as in it's chilly,
also
but
cold.
Also cool as in
Yeah, we're swimming around the castle was super awesome. Water is Mediterranean clear,
very clear.
So you could see the rocks and stuff on the bottom up under you. You could also see all of the other swimmers who were some of them.
I didn't see any fish.
I did not see a single fish. No.
So I don't know what the deal was with the fish, but they were not around us.
We were now 1,200 splashing people. Might have chased off the local wildlife. The castle was awesome to be able to swim around.
Cold. When you go to, we're sitting there asking the race officials whether or not it's wetsuit legal, and the first one was like, I don't know, and I don't really know why he said I don't know because this was never not going to be great.
100% wetsuit legal race.
When you go out there to the ocean, I mean, we hadn't gotten in the ocean yet, so we had no idea what the temperature was. When you see people putting on the neoprene caps,
not a good day.
You know that it's going to be chilly. And so we get in the ocean, and of course it's chilly. I mean, actually, it wasn't as cold as Napa.
It wasn't that
bad. But it is chilly, and we're trying to get used to it. And then we're looking around, and of the 1,200 people, there are 2 in sleeveless wetsuits, and that's me and Sam. Everyone else had full sleeves. Yeah, full sleeve wetsuit. And I'm sure they were all looking at us like stupid Americans. They don't even know what they're doing. So anyway, but nothing really of note. It's a right-hand turn. down,
The
right-hand turn, and then back. I mean, it was, and you can't really get lost. I mean, I'm looking at my Garmin, and I actually swam fairly straight.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'd say these buoys, I was looking at it this time because they're about 6 feet high or so, so you can sight them pretty reasonably far out. If I was leaving comments for the race, that would be one of them. Add a couple of more buoys. It's not many because they're nice and tall, so you could see them from a long way off, but a couple of more would have been helpful.
So you get out of the swim, you run across this street, so through the sand across the street, but by the time that you get up on like this boardwalk, and then they have carpet kind of out, and so they had the green carpet all the way to the transition, didn't
Yes, they did.
So it knocks all the sand off of your feet as you're going into transition. I didn't feel like I needed to wash my feet off at all.
Knock some of the sand off your feet. I would have preferred to see foot washing or like spray. So that's my only real comment on. There was two on improving the swim, the buoys, and I would have liked to run through some water to wash that off. But once again, when you see the carpet, it's just green AstroTurf.
Sure.
On the asphalt, that is just such a big difference. You know that the race is looking at it from an athlete perspective. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's a pain in the butt because they've got to roll that up before the runners start. But it just makes such a big difference in my mind that I know that the race is taking care of those little things, so the big things are gonna be there. So yeah, kudos on the AstroTurf on the carpet for certain.
All right, so you go into transition, do your standard transition. It wasn't anything really I could tell you that's going to improve your time. It's a standard transition.
Yeah.
Head out on the bike. Tell us about the bike.
So the race director called this one of the fastest bikes. This is going to be a very fast bike. As it turns out, we looked at the elevation the day before, and it's 1,000 meters or 3,000 feet. Whew, that's a lot. The most we have done over this year is like 3,600. So there's a lot of climbing here. This is a hilly course. Now, I'm not mad at it. Blue Ridge, I still hate. But the hills, you had enough variation in the hills that it never felt like there was no painful climb. Your first 10K of bike, the first 6 miles for our American friends, had a lot of elevation to it, had a pretty good amount of climbing. But there was enough divots that you got a little break in there, and then that meant your whole way home was fairly downhill. So the last 10K was a nice respite.
So this is the bike. It's a 10K string, a 35K
double
balloon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
It's
round,
like it's
though. It's out and back.
Yeah.
But you do that twice, and then 10K back. So that's your 90K. 10K out, 35 around, 10K back. And so you do the 35 twice. So since you do it twice, you'll get an idea of
what's about to happen.
What's coming up next.
So I never felt crowded. I would call it closed roads with a asterisk. We were at the back of this race, and so the roads were closed. But since we're at the back, there was the sag wagon had already come past me on the left. They were taking up the cones, and traffic was allowed to go the opposite way. So there were cars going. So our lanes were closed the entire time we were using them, but they were opening the roads as soon as they could. Which also leads into, when did we have to be off the bike by? Do you remember?
So I guess we probably should have started the video with this, and maybe we need to go back and put this in the beginning of the video. But if this is likely not a first-time race.
No.
And if you cannot comfortably finish, and when I say comfortably, that means that you had a problem and still were able to finish in 7 hours, this is not the race for you.
Yeah.
The deal is from the time the race starts, and it's a rolling start, to the time that the race finishes, 7 hours, 15 minutes. So imagine that you're in the 15 minutes behind. You've got 7 hours to finish this race, or they're going to close it off, and that's what happened.
And normally that would be comfortable for us. I don't 6 to 6.5 has been our sweet spot. But you have 3,000 feet of climbing, and even though you're at the beach, you do not have a flat run. So it was. We were nervous. I don't know. I was nervous coming into this thing that it was going to be tight.
You just don't. When you have 8.5 hours, you know that you can break your collarbone and still finish the race. I mean, that's. But
stuff can go wrong.
Yeah, something, a flat tire, mechanical problem, cramping up. I mean, there's something that could happen, and you could still finish in 8.5 hours. But 7 hours that's a big difference between 8.5 and 7.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. So the bike you had to be when I passed the sag wagon, it was 40 minutes behind me, and we finished this race. I haven't even looked at the finish times, but I bet 95% of the people finished ahead of us.
All right, at least
98.
I probably could count on a few, maybe two hands. How many people were behind me?
Yeah.
So it was.
I'm curious to see how many people didn't finish.
So I like the challenge a lot. It always feels great finishing in front of people.
Right.
And I think the only time we have ever through this series finished a race with people still going out on the run was
Texas,
North Carolina,
Wilmington. Yeah.
And so that felt awesome. And so one day I hope to train enough to feel that again. This was not going to be that race for me. And so you really cut out all of the new people and all of the people who
didn't train.
I wasn't. Yeah, I might not make it or whatever. They're just not going to do the race. So it made for a much more competitive field, which made for a better competition.
I think that's what the race director was talking about when he said this was a really fast race. It was because the people that are in the race are really fast.
Yeah, because this is not flat. This is a challenging bike. Now the roads, I want to say for European roads were less than Austria, but still very good.
Yeah.
Austria is going to be my standard for Europe. This similar roads to France, similar roads. So I would say, as good as the best roads in the States. No issues with big potholes, no issues. Some of it was new coming in and out of the city. When we came here on the interstate, there were some issues with the roads. So they put us on very good roads.
Yeah, there were some bumps for sure, and there was some cracked pavement and some divots that you had to get around. But these were very good roads. I mean, it knocked the cap off of my bladder. That's kind of how I can tell when it's pretty bumpy. It had some speed platforms. I wouldn't call them speed humps because you go up, over, and then down. And so that's something that you kind of have to get used to. But nothing. I mean, these were really. If we were in the United States, these would be above average roads for sure. I'd put them on par with Brazil. I mean, they were. I don't know. Brazil might have been a little bit better, but these were definitely
better than Brazil. I'm
going to
go better than Brazil. There are a lot of. I'm going to say a lot of tight turns. Some U-turns, some tight turns, and some of them are in frustrating places. Like you're coming down this hill and you got great, beautiful speed, and you've got to do a 180, and that happens. Maybe 4 or 5 times at least?
It's twice on the 35-mile loop, and so it happens 4 times. And you need to be aware of it because these are the type of roads that you could slide out on where the gravel itself is kind of smooth.
Yeah.
So there's actually kind of some rumble strips or whatever before one of them. When you get to the rumble strips, that's not just for the cars. That's for you too. Luckily, there was somebody in front of me both times that started slowing down, so I was able to catch that. But yeah, you need the U-turns and coming down the hill with. I get frustrated with that. And I take off points when you do a U-turn in a downhill.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way that they set up this course, that's really the only way you can do it.
There was not much they could do. Yeah. I think that the race I think the course was as good as they could possibly do with
yeah.
what they had, and they put us on the best roads that were available
to be closed, because I mean they were closed, and the entire road was closed because you went out and back on this road, and maybe you turn out and back on that road, closed.
Yeah.
Both ways.
So, I don't fault them for it, but you just be aware of it going into it. It clearly didn't slow down the winner because he passed me twice. So
He did, yeah. The second time the leader passed me, he was 45K ahead, so 28 miles ahead of me.
So yeah, it was not my favorite bike course of all time, but it was one of my favorite scenic courses
you go
of
through these
all time.
orange groves, man, and we're getting into spring because we're back in the northern hemisphere. We're getting into spring. I mean, these things are blooming and they smell wonderful.
Amazing. So lots of oranges, lots of was it limes? There was some other tree that was.
I don't know.
That was
I'm sitting there smelling all the.
But I mean, you're on a bike tour through the south of Spain.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. It was just beautiful. You have 3,000 feet of climb. You're going to have some vistas.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, just being able to take in the gorgeous Spanish countryside, it was very cool, and the closed roads made it really cool. So that made up for a lot of the complaints that I had with the course itself.
So you do the 2 loops, you come back in on that string, the 10K string, and like you said, the roads were open on the other side as we were coming back in, but I never had any trouble with cars or traffic.
No.
There were several roundabouts that we kind of went through, and they would hold traffic and let you come through, and then let the traffic go through on the roundabout. But yeah, it was a really well run.
Yeah.
Plenty of police.
This course had, I'd call it, as many volunteers as I've ever seen for Ironman.
I mean, they're holding signs of which way to go.
Yeah.
And,
So
and the arrow is in Spanish, but I could read it.
And the back side was a stop sign for the cars.
Yes.
So on our side was the arrow, making sure we were going the right way, and then the other side. So they had every 5K. They had a sign with where you were on the course, how many kilometers you were in. So, fantastic fantastic signage, fantastic volunteering. They did a great job. I wouldn't change a thing there.
So you get off the bike, you come back into town, go to transition. You enter transition at the exact same spot that you left transition, mount and dismount on the exact same spot. Head out on the run.
So the run.
So the run, 21.1K, and let's divide it into thirds. You come out and you go down this flat beach walk.
Yeah,
it's pretty much
perfectly, gorgeously flat.
It is. I'm assuming it's 3.5K out and 3.5K back because it's the first third is on the beach walk.
Yeah.
And then the second third is up into some hills and then ends up with a trail run. Mm-hmm. So 7K and there's a fair amount of climbing through all of this. And you come back, and then you do the beach walk again as your third 7K, and then we'll talk about the finish line. But there are, what do we decide? 6. There are 4 aid stations total.
Yes.
But you hit 2 of them twice, so you hit 6 aid stations over the 13 miles. That's probably the least number of aid stations we've ever had on a run.
Yes.
And it wasn't hot. The temperature was good. I think that this is probably this time of year. That's just how normal. This is going to be. But that's not enough. I mean,
no ice. So they had bottles of water. They had cups of electrolytes, cups of Coke, and then gels, but no ice.
And really, the only thing that I would change is I would add. There's 2 U-turn turnarounds.
Yeah.
And I just added an aid station at each one of those. And that would give you 9 because you'd hit the one twice and the other one. That would be, and I think 9 would be enough. I mean, I think that's all they need. Is just add an aid station to each U-turn and you'd be good because that would be the correct distance. I mean, you come out and the first one is like 1.2 miles, like 2K, you get to it. The next one is not for another 2.5 miles, and you get back to that same one and hit it again.
There were just 2 like right there together,
right.
So they could have put that in line.
Yeah.
And put them right, so you could have the same amount of actual people and just separated them more, and we certainly would have liked that more. They had trash cans. Well done with the giant dumpsters at leading away from it, so you could take your water and then throw it away. So I didn't see much garbage because you could see where you were supposed to.
They were handing out full-size water bottles. And
yes.
so since they were handing out full-size water bottles, that kind of made up for it. The first aid station, I drank my water bottle or whatever, chunked it in the trash can. When I realized that the second aid station wasn't until forever, I held on to that water bottle until I got to the next aid station, because I'm like, okay, now we know what's up.
I know this game.
Yeah. So I did not feel unsupported, because I knew that I could take my water bottle with me and run with it, but that's just not what we're used to seeing with the such races.
I never felt like I was dying of thirst. I really wanted some ice, so I was upset never to see that. And certainly with full water bottles, you can dunk them in ice, keep them in ice, and keep them colder. I always like to see that. So, I got to take off a couple points for that.
But I wonder if I know South American people like room temperature water. I wonder if European people like room temperature water too. I don't know. Whatever the reason was, the water was cool.
What are you talking about? We had ice all over Brazil and Argentina.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but you had to order cold water from the restaurant. You could order room temperature water, or you could order cold water.
Yeah, but at the race is what I'm specifically referring to.
Yeah, in the race. Okay, I don't know. Whatever. I would like to see some ice too. There was no ice, and the waters were not cold. They were cool-ish. They were cooler than my body.
I did not see very many walkers at all. I don't know that I actually saw any on that first third. And then when you got to the hills, I saw some going uphill. I mean, I was among them. The walkers are my people. So going uphill, you could see some. And then there were, a couple on the last third. But that is usually when I'm doing a race and that kind of situation, there's one or two joggers and everybody's walking. Very competitive race.
So the first third of the course, the public was pretty respectful of that beach walk. The second third of the course, you're by yourself on this road.
Empty.
So there's nobody there to get in your way. The third of the course, the public was not at all respectful.
No.
They were wondering why you were still out there. I
Yeah.
mean, I had people crossing the street not looking. I mean, I hit one lady because, she was crossing the street not paying attention. I'm like, what in the world?
What'd you go with, like shoulder tackle, or you kind of just lead with the head?
I got her with this shoulder, but I kind of tried to squeeze through right here. But she's on the race course, or crossing the race course. I guess her person had finished, and so if her person's finished, then the race must be over.
Everybody else should be done too.
And then on that was kind of coming back into the city as you go around that roundabout, and then as you get out on the beach walk, you could weave your way in and out of people, but they no longer cared that there was a race going on.
Absolutely an issue coming back. That final third.
Basically all of them were saying run faster.
I don't know what they were saying. I felt like there was a lot of cheers.
I'm just saying the people who weren't paying attention were like, hey man, the race should have been done.
Yeah, and then so I started grunting and making noises, loud noises,
so they would hear you coming.
Yeah, so that generally solved it.
All right, so you finish the last third of the course and you split off, and you run up these 500-year-old roads that are stone. Into the center of the castle, and that's where the finish line was.
That was really cool. Like you're walking under, the old doors to the castle, and you finish. I don't know about you, but I was jogging up under those. You walking up under what doors are you walking up under? I was at the back.
It's the finish line shoot, man. You got to run on through that.
Gotcha. Next time, run. So the finish line.
So finish line, you got a medal, and it is a wooden medal, and so I would take off points for this because it's a wooden medal, and you're like, okay, well they just cheaped out and didn't get a medal, unless you look at the back where it says this is made by
No.
Sustainable Trophies. I Feel Wood's Sustainable Trophies. So that was an excellent way to say that I wasn't being cheap. I was helping the environment.
There you go.
All right, I'll give you that. And then you got a finisher sweatshirt. We have received a sweatshirt at another race. We have never received a T-shirt and a sweatshirt at any race.
No, that is super cool. Love it. We were talking about it for, what was that, Daytona or Miami maybe, with the, I like other stuff that says finisher on it.
Oh, yeah, because of the pajama pants.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic. I can wear it before the race when it's cold out, and then advertise their race. So it's, well done. Kudos for them.
Yeah.
So you have any wrap-up notes or any thoughts? They had tons of food. You
Got to finish early.
If you're finishing at it pays to be a winner. That's the theme of this race, is it pays to be a winner. We saw some remnants of chocolate donuts that looked absolutely delicious.
They were out of beer.
They had beer.
They were out of Coke.
They had Coke.
They still had the empanadas and the paella.
And some pizza.
And some melon. I don't know what kind of melon it was. But anyway, we in the beginning of the video, we said you need to be comfortable doing 7 hours or less, and to be able to do this race, you need to be comfortable doing 6 hours or less to be able to eat after this race.
And probably like 5.5.
Yeah,
like sub 5.5 to really get a good shot. Because I don't think we missed the beer by much. Because one guy was offering us his beer. I'm pretty sure it's Spanish. So next time we learn Spanish before we show up here. But yes, they were out of lots of things by the time that we got there. So
it didn't matter. They did have pizza.
They had pizza,
not American pizza, but
they had pizza and water, and that's really all we wanted anyway. I wanted a beer just to try whatever the beer was, but that didn't really bother me. When there were people getting. They had leg squeezers.
Oh, did they? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, there were people getting the treatment. When we were going in, but by the time we had finished eating, that was all gone.
They cleared that out.
So, it's apparently if you're finishing in 6.5 or more, don't bother. I mean, we're joking, but seriously. And you had to get your bike out by like 3 o'clock, or they were tearing it down as we were going over there. So, fast race.
Very competitive. That's what makes it fast. The course itself, not likely a PR course for you, but the competitiveness of the race, it's a very fast race.
So you got a score on this one?
Man, the swag bumps it up. There's a couple of things that I would have changed, but 6.5. I mean, I got to give it 6.5.
I'm absolutely with him on 6.5. This is I would travel to Spain for this race. I would absolutely highly recommend it. Well done race. I felt like I was challenged without being punished. Does that make sense? I don't know how to describe that.
I mean, 3,000 feet of climb, and you weren't mad at the course when you got finished with it.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've had courses. I mean, Napa was 3,000 feet of climb, and we hated that course. But that was mainly not because of the course, but because of the roads.
Yeah.
But this one, I mean, you are constantly going up and down. There was very few times where you were doing a flat straightaway for any long period of time. It was basically you were always going up and down, which makes it to where you don't have to go way up and then way down and then flat. It was just a whole bunch up and down. So that's.
So this is a great challenge. It's a fantastic race, and I can't speak enough for the organizers. I'd put it above Ironman. I'd put it in that challenge sphere of quality. I mean, fantastic athlete-centered race. Really well done. Kudos. I will not be surprised when they charge more. They earned it.
Sure.
So stay tuned for race or travel stories from Billy and Sam. Thanks so much for watching. Recommending the Peñíscola. How close can I get?
InfiniTri half triathlon.
Half try. Thanks so much for watching, guys.